Good evening, everyone. I am Councillor Laura Binks, Mayor of Strathbogie Shire Council. I would like to welcome you all to this ordinary council meeting of 16th of November 2021. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship the traditional custodians have with their lands and waters, and we pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Today we are meeting on the lands of the Taungurung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose sovereignty here has never been ceded. I will now outline to you how the meeting will work. So this meeting is held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules and the ministerial good practice guidelines for virtual meetings. All our councillors and staff are working remotely and alone, so there is no need for them to wear face masks so you can hear and see them clearly. Due to COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, this meeting is being held virtually. Voting at today's meeting will be held by a show of hands. If a councillor has a conflict of interest in a matter, they will be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will commence until we are sure they have done so. This also applies for our officers. Councillors will be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. And the same goes for officers. If we have technical difficulties during today's meeting, and hopefully we find them all out, which means we are unable to broadcast the meeting to the public, we'll adjourn the meeting for a maximum of 15 minutes. If the issue is not resolved after this time, we may extend the adjournment or even delay the considerations of unfinished business on the agenda to another day when the meeting is able to be streamed live. Apologies and leaves of absence. CEO Solomon, are there any apologies?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. No, there are no apologies received for this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Solomon. Disclosures of conflicts of interest. Councillors, are there any disclosures of conflicts of interest to be made under Rule 94 of our Governance Rules and Division 2 of the Local Government Act 2020? No? Okay. Item 5 is the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meetings. Councillors, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 19th of October and the extraordinary meeting held on the 26th of October 2021 require confirmation. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? Councillor Rayburn.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move a motion that the minutes from the meeting held on the 19th of October and the extraordinary council meeting held on the 26th of October 2021 be confirmed and received and noted.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Is there a seconder? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No. Now, my notes don't ask for a vote on this, but do I make a vote on this? Yes, I thought I did. Thank you, Director Bray, Manager Bray. Okay, can I please see a show of hands for the motion? All those in favour? Thank you. And all those against? Okay, I declare that the motion has been carried. Petitions. CEO Solomon, do we have any petitions to be tabled at this evening's meeting?
Mayor Binks, there are no petitions that received for this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Solomon. And we'll now move on to reports from Mayor and councillors and delegates. Councillors, are there any reports that you would like to make to the meeting? Councillor Rayburn.
Thank you, Mayor. I very much appreciate the opportunity. Sitting on the floor, I'll be able to give a report. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate yourself on being elected as Mayor of Strathbogie Shire, and Councillor Murray for coming deputy, and also to Councillor Dickinson to put your hand up, but to be knocked off in the election. It's part of life, and we just got to work forward and go forward with that, and I appreciate your nomination. So it was greatly accepted. I just want to say good luck for the future. As Mayor, Councillor Binks, and I've given my report in my last meeting, the statutory meeting, so good luck. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Councillor Haysberg, did you want to give a report?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Yes, I just wanted to give a warm welcome to you as Mayor and to Councillor Murray as Deputy Mayor. And yes, thanks to Councillor Dickinson for putting up his hand, because it takes courage to do that. And I'd also like to thank Councillor Rayburn for your tireless work in the role of Mayor over the past year. It's definitely been a challenging one, but thank you very much for assisting us in getting some amazing stuff done. Some things that I'm proud of, and you mentioned quite a few things in your report, but just to touch on a few that I really wanted to note were the council plan and our work on that with the officers. I really believe that it reflects council's values and its desires to do the very best for the community. The climate change declaration, which will lead to some real action on the ground on climate. Allowing funding for a mental health outreach worker for our community, the MOU between the Council and Tungarang Land and Waters Council, and the Charter of Mutual Respect, which enshrines a high level of respect across the organisation and the community, pushing ARTC to listen to the community, and your constant work in closing the digital telecommunications and energy gap that we face here rurally when compared to the city. So thank you, Councillor Rayburn. I'd also like to just give a quick plug for our online engagement platform, Share Strathbogie. I've had some incredible feedback for people who've actually used the platform and engaged with the projects, but I also speak to a surprising number of people who haven't actually logged on yet, so I really encourage people to do so. Currently, you can comment on the Nagambie streetscape design, the Yarrell Community Garden and Gathering Space proposal, and very importantly, Council's Climate Action Plan. So, and I'm sure when we can, we'll be doing a lot more face-to-face communications as restrictions continue to ease. And lastly, I'd just like to thank the Yarrell community for the very moving Remembrance Day service that I attended with Councillor Hourigan last Thursday. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor Binks. I'd like to start by just thanking once again our ex-mayor, Councillor Rayburn, and also Councillor Reg Dickinson for nominating for deputy mayor. I'd like to this month I attended the Remembrance Day services at Avenel and at Longwood, and the Remembrance Day service at Avenel was well attended, and lots of kids turned up, and it was a terrific day to remember our fallen soldiers and all those who have fought for us over the years. It's pleasing to see the markets once again starting in both Avenel and Violetown, and I think that's a good sign for us exiting from the COVID situation. And I look forward to the markets opening across the Shire and more economic activity happening there. Also, the action groups. I attended a couple of action group meetings and the Yarrell Chamber of Commerce meeting, and it's great to see those groups starting to meet again face to face and address some of the issues that are important in our Shire. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Mayor, and well done. Congratulations to you and to Councillor Murray. I'll go and shed a few quiet tears after the meeting. No, quite seriously, I know you'll do a good job, the pair of you, and I know you'll represent the Shire really well, and I'd encourage anyone to put their hand up and have a crack at it, you know. A bit of competition is good. I really want to pay acknowledgement to Chris Rayburn, Mayor Rayburn. I've just been knocked over by the amount of work that he has put in over the last 12 months leading a very novice group of councillors. And it's probably, well, I'm sure it has been a really stressful job for him, and I think that he has made the right decision to move on and get some fresh blood in, and hopefully, you know, and I'm sure we will, not hopefully, I'm sure we will see the same terrific leadership that we have had for the last 12 months. But really, Chris, well done, and I think that comes from all of us.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor Binks, and congratulations to you on your appointment there, and congratulations to Councillor Murray as well for being up the Deputy Mayor. And again, is our thanks and our gratefulness to Councillor Rayburn for his being the outgoing mayor for his 12 months. As Councillor Dickinson said, they've been a pretty tough 12 months. So thank you very much for your time and toil there. I was pleased during the week, as most of you were, to attend and officially represent Strathbogie at the Remembrance Day services. And it was great to see the people out and about, and especially the kids, younger generation coming through and being part of all the festivities there. Also, we had the pleasure of seeing a couple of completed projects at the opening there of the netball court there, the new surfaces there, and also the youth park, the skate park there at the Gambie. We had the Honourable Danielle Green MP come down and be part of open each of the venues, and she was very well received, and it was a very pleasant day. So it's good to see those things come out, and again, for the next 12 months, for both the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, we'll support you all we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Councillor Hourigan.
Thank you, Mayor Binks. I'd also like to say thank you to Councillor Rayburn, especially for putting your hand up knowing that you had 6 brand new councillors. I think that's very brave of you. And I appreciate all the guidance and the chats and everything throughout those 12 months. So I did want to sincerely say thank you for that. And congratulations to Mayor Binks. I think you're going to have a really exciting 12 months, and I know you have a great deputy there, Murray, but if you do need to call on anyone, I'm more than happy to help. And also congratulations to Murray, Deputy Mayor. That's also brave of you to jump in there and do that. And I did just want to talk about one thing that I think is really important. The federal government's just established a regional banking task force to assess the impact branch closures that are having on regional communities. So I know a few community members have been speaking about that. This is a very important task force, and I'm hoping to have a chat with Mayor Binks during the week about what we can do in the advocacy of that stage. And as you know, for Euroa in particular, having the NAB closed, and now the Commonwealth Bank, the last bank that we have, has decided to start reducing its hours and only opening till 1 p.m. So I'm just bringing that up formally in the council meeting to let the community know that we do know this is happening, and we will try our best for the advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hourigan. I'd just like to say to I guess second everything everyone said, and thank Councillor Rayburn for our first 12 months. You've done an incredible job, and I'm really excited about what I will continue to learn from you as you continue to be a mentor to me and to all of us as councillors in this Shire. So thank you. Other than that, I attended the first Violet Town Market that we've had in months, which was really exciting, and that was on the same morning as the opening of the murals at the Violet Town Memorial Garden for the Southern Aurora, at which I got to talk with some of our state and federal members, which was a great benefit. And although it was an absolutely wonderful conversation I had with some residents, and I think that's why we're all here, is because of those conversations we have with the residents and the opportunity to hear their voices and to hear what they've got to say. So I'm just really looking forward to what we come out with at the in 12 months' time from here. So that's all I will add for my report this time. We'll move on to item 8 of the agenda. CEO Solomon, are there any questions from the public for this meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. There are no questions received for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll now move on to page 1 of the agenda. Item 9.1.1, waiver of planning application fee, planning application number P2021-184, buildings and works for a public netball court, 2A Down Street, Longwood. Director Tingay, may we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. As printed on page 1 of the agenda, Council's received an application for a fee waiver for a planning permit application that's been submitted by the Longwood Community Centre Committee of Management. The planning permit application relates to the development of a netball court. So this is a second netball court at Longwood Recreation Reserve. The waiver request is for $435.90. We have actually issued the planning permit as it was a VicSmart application, and a planning permit was required to be determined within a 10-day period. There is a recommendation on page 1 for Council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, Amanda Tingay. We had a slightly bumpy line there for me, but it might have been okay for others. But do any councillors have a question of Director Tingay? No, we're all clear. Okay, councillors, can I have a motion, please? And can you state your motion? Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, I'd like to move the recommendation as stated on page 1, that the request by the Longwood Community Centre Management Committee fee be waived, and that part 2 was the fee of $435.90, planning permit application fee, construction of a second netball court, be waived. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rayburn. Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? No. Okay. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Dickinson, over to you.
Oh, to me, it's a no-brainer. This is a community facility, and community facilities are for everyone, and the Longwood Recreation Reserve is a very active community, do a lot for their residents, and I wholeheartedly support their application for this fee to be waived.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Rayburn, did you want to say anything?
I just support Councillor Dickinson. As we've heard, the Longwood Action Group and the Longwood community are a very, very active community, and they are there for the betterment of all the community. So I think it's a great way of going forward with this.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. Okay. Councillors, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. And against, Nope. And declare the motion carried. Okay, moving on to item 9.1.2. Got to get all my numbers in order. Planning applications received and planning applications determined from the 1st to the 31st of October 2021. Director Tingay, may we have a summary, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Our standard planning permit report for the period of 1 to 31 of October 2021. We received 20 new planning applications within that period and 24 planning permit applications were decided. There's a recommendation on page 6 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions of the office? No? Okay. Councillors, can I have a motion, and can you state your motion, please? Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the recommendation on page 6 of the agenda that Council note the 20 new planning applications and that we note the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Haysbert, thank you. No. Is there any opposition to the motion? I'm hovering over my mute button. No, I can't see any opposition. Okay. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No? Okay. Councillors, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? And declare it carried. Okay, so moving on to item 9.2.1, Council Christmas and New Year closures. CEO Salomon, may we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. This report highlights that the council offices in Biddy Street, Euroa, Nagambie Customer Service Centre and the Operations Centre at centres at Euroa and Nagambie close over the Christmas New Year period each year. This year, with Christmas Day falling on the Saturday, it is proposed that we close our offices from 12 noon Friday 24th of December, and we reopen again for business to the public at 8:45 a.m. Tuesday 4th of January 2022. Typically, we usually close the office on Christmas Eve Day at 3 p.m. However, in recognition and appreciation of the flexibility and the agility and our commitment of all of our staff during what has been a pretty tough year with COVID-19 restrictions and having to be quite agile and responsive in ensuring that services continue during these challenging times, we're proposing this year to close at 12 noon. The length of days that of closure remains consistent with previous years, and this has been widely accepted by our community. I think before I finish, it's important to note that the closure really relates mainly to council administration and many of council services such as ranger services, water patrols on Lake Nagambie, after hours and emergency response services and essential services and programs will continue to operate during this period of closure. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, CEO Salomon. Does any councillor have a question of CEO Salomon regarding the closure? Councillor Haysbert.
Thanks, Mayor. CEO, does this mean that the maternal and child health services will remain open for that period if they're required?
Through you, Mayor Binks. No, they don't stay open because they're not an emergency response service. So they will close and they will go back to business for those first week visits as soon as council reopens. So if there are any emergencies, that's usually managed by the maternity hospital on departure, and there's also the 24-hour maternal and child health hotline.
Thank you, Zia.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Did any other councillor have a question they'd like to clarify? No? Okay. Councillors, can I have a motion, please? And can you state your motion? Councillor Dickinson. You're on mute, Councillor Dickinson. No, you're still on mute. We were having some troubles with our Teams interface earlier today, so Councillor Dickinson may be experiencing a disappearance of the mute unmute button.
I think I've got it now.
You certainly do. Well done.
It did disappear.
Would you like to state your motion,
Yes.
Councillor?
Yes. Once again, this is a no-brainer, and along with moving the motion, I want to express my support to the hard-working staff, particularly over this 12 months where we were all new.
Thank you. I'm just going to pause you there, Councillor Dickinson. Can I get a motion first and then you can speak to it?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
I would like to move the motion as stated on page 15 of the agenda. Do you need me to read it?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Andrews, thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? No? Okay, Councillor Dickinson, take it away. You can talk now.
Oh, good. I think I deserve the strap. To use the words of Councillor Andrews. Look, it's a no-brainer. We have a very hard-working staff who work under a lot of pressure, and to knock off a few hours earlier on Christmas Eve, I think is small reward for the job that they do. And I'd like to acknowledge the support that they've given me and to our fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Andrews, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to endorse what the Director said and what Councillor Dickinson said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Would any other councillor like to speak on the matter? No. Okay. Councillors, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And all those against? Okay, and
declare it carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9.2. Oh, hang on. No, I must have missed one. 9.2.2. Application for sponsorship, Scouting Association, Australia Victorian Branch. Director Tingay, can we get a summary, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Council's received an application from Scouts Victoria requesting sponsorship to be put towards the Victorian Scout Jamboree, the 2021-2022 event, to be held from Wednesday the 29th of December through to Saturday the 8th of January 2022. They intend to have their main site for the Jamboree located at Elmore. However, as part of the Jamboree, they will be holding a number of satellite sites throughout the region, to which Lake Ngambie and the Regatta Centre is one of those sites. This is the first time that the Jamboree has come to Lake Ngambie. We expect to see approximately 200 to 250 scouts per day come and experience our beautiful region. As part of the sponsorship requests, there are a number of items included in that, which include in-kind components of essentially complimentary hire of the regatta centre, loan of equipment, and our support staff in preparing the application for the event process as part of normal business duties. However, there are also some additional costs of council as well, including Shire staff support for the bump in and bump out phase, and also additional cleaning to ensure that COVID-19 requirements can be met. The total of the sponsorship support, both additional costs to be absorbed by council and the in-kind component, is just over $23,000. There is a recommendation commencing on page 19 of the agenda for council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions of Director Tingay? No? Okay. Councillors, can I have a motion, and can you state your motion, please? Councillor Andrews. You're on mute, Councillor Andrews.
Of course I am. It's contagious, Councillor Dickinson. All right, I move the recommendation on page 19 and continuing over to page 20 be adopted by the council. Would you like me to read that out, Mayor, or?
No, that's sufficient. Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Rayburn, thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? No. Okay, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? You have the first opportunity, Councillor Andrews, as the mover.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that after a tough year that our youth needs some support, and they're great festivities. I've been to them before, and it's a lot to be learnt, a lot of friendships and to be made, and they are memorable events in a young person's life, and again, it brings together the community, and I think it's a good thing the council is doing to support what's basically a community effort there with the Scouts Association. So I'd highly recommend it to you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Councillor Rayburn, would you like to speak on the matter?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Binks. I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Andrews has stated, but to even put it into financial matters, it's $93 per person, which we're going to sponsor here. And I think for our youth, that is a minor cost to what our youth require in their lives. So I think we wholeheartedly support this.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Would any other councillor like to speak on the matter? No. Okay. I shall put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And are those against? None. Okay, I declare that carried. And we will now move on to item 9.2.3, Greening Euroa Advocacy Plan. Director Roth, can we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an exciting project where we're aiming to pipe reuse water from the treatment plant to green areas in Euroa, including schools and ovals. Stage 1 and 2 is almost complete, which is up to the stage of design and costing of the project. Stage 3 is construction, which we estimate will cost $3.8 million. So we need to try and get that funds out of government and other sources. So we've developed a lobbying plan which identifies a series of actions to try and achieve the funding. That includes discussions with members of parliament. We've already had visits from one federal and one state, or discussions with one of each, which has been terrific. And also with some of the funding from state government we've had left over, we're in the process of developing a video which is going to help us to promote the project. So the lobbying plan is there with a recommendation on page 32 for council to endorse. So we can then get on to chasing the money.
Fabulous. Thank you, Director Roth. Councillors, does anyone have a question of Director Roth? No? Okay. So we have councillors, can you state a motion, and well, can I have a motion, and can you state it, please? I'm already getting muddled. Councillor Hourigan, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Binks. I'd like to move a motion that we adopt the recommendation on page 32.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder to the motion, please? Councillor Haysberg, thank you. And is there any opposition to the motion? No? Okay. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Hourigan?
Thanks, Mayor Binks. Just like to support what Director David Roth said. This is a great project for Euroa, and we have been in touch, with various government agencies to try and receive some funding. So if they are watching or listening tonight, please look out for our application. We would like to continue with this great project. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hourigan. Councillor Haysberg, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Councillor Hourigan, for your comments. Yeah, we're prepared to give it a real shot for funding. It's a really exciting and innovative project that was entirely instigated by the community, and it's now being run with the help of Council and GV Water. I think it really shows Council's commitment to mitigating and adapting to climate change. And we've already had some really positive meetings with Wendy Lovell and Helen Haynes, who seem keen to help us secure some funding, but we will be following up with them and making sure that does come into fruition. We understand that we'll probably need state, federal, local funding for the project because it is quite a lot of money. But in the scheme of things, to secure green spaces that are going to really enhance our community's well-being, I think it's going to be definitely worth it as we face hotter, drier summers. So, yeah, great supporter of this project. And I thank all the officers, especially Molly, who's put so much hard work into making it happen.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. I'd just like to say, I think it's also not. Oh, Councillor Hourigan.
No, that's okay. I think you go first, and then I get the right.
Okay, you're going to respond. So, okay, yep. Thanks. Thanks for pulling me up on the governance. I'd just like to say that it's also a really great opportunity to have a sort of a project by example, so that this project, lots of people are looking at it as one that we could look to rolling out in other areas of the Shire, but also more broadly in other areas. So it's a real leading by example project, I think, is something to be really proud of and to be a part of. So I just wanted to add that in. So over to you, Councillor Hourigan.
Thanks, Mayor Binks. I forgot to thank the Greening Euroa committee. So I do apologise, but thank you very much to them and of course the officers as well. So I needed to get that last bit in, Mayor Binks.
Yes, certainly. They've all done incredible work on this. I know it's been a big part of the project, and yeah, thank you, Councillor Hourigan. Okay, councillors, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And all those against? And declare it carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to item 9.2.4, Strathbogie Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee. Unconfirmed minutes of the meeting held on Friday the 19th of September 2021. Director Roth, can we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is just to present the minutes of the last audit committee for council to note. If reading the minutes, some things that were discussed were the annual financial report, which included participation by the external auditors, the Auditor General's Office, and presentation of their audit report. There was also internal audit reports in relation to local laws and payroll. The committee looked at the charter and made some minor tweaks to that. And also we discussed financial reporting, human resources and risk management. So the minutes are there for council to note.
Thank you, Director Roff. Councillors, do you have any questions of Director Roff? No? Okay, councillors, can I have a motion and can you state your motion, please? Councillor Murray?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. I'd like to move the motion that we note the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee on the 17th of September, and that we note that the unconfirmed minutes will be signed by the chair of the committee once accepted on page 40 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. And do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Haysberg, thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? No. Okay. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No. Okay. Councillors, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And against? And declare it carried. Okay, so item 9.2.5, Regional Information Technology Collaboration Funding Application. Director Roff, can we have a summary, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This is another potentially exciting project anyway. State government have provided funding for what they call the Rural Council's Transformation Project, which provides up to $250,000 per council to improve their financial sustainability. So we've been working with Mansfield and Murrindindi because they encourage collaborative applications. You can have no more than 4 councils in one application. And this is to collaborate and come up with some common approaches to IT, which are going to make it easier for us to work together, share systems, share expertise, and make best value out of what we've got. And as a result of that, we're hopeful of better outcomes for customers and more efficient practices. The application's due on the 10th of December, and we're still progressing it. This is a similar resolution will be passed by the other 2 councils to endorse the application to go forward, and it's for council to note.
Thank you, Director Roff. Councillors, are there any questions of the Director? No. Okay. Councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state your motion? Councillor Haysberg?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Yes, I would like to move the recommendation on page 56 of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Murray, thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? No. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Haysberg.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'll speak. Yeah, thanks to officers for taking the initiative. Of course, we're always striving to get better efficiency, and I'm sure that this will have some benefits with purchasing and skills sharing and some IT. So, yeah, it's a great initiative. Hopefully we're successful in getting the funding.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Councillor Rayburn, did you want to add something? You're on mute.
I just wanted to make sure we made comment on this because this is a great initiative by the 3 shires to ensure that part of the state government's Local Government Act 2020 was that we must share resources and work forward to improve our sustainability, and this is one of the ways we do it.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you for noting that, Councillor Rayburn. Did any other councillor wish to speak on the matter? Councillor Murray.
Just to reinforce that statement, but from the ex-mayor and Councillor Hayes-Burke, that it's important, really, I think, for efficiency and so on, that we work together collaboratively with similar shires in the region. And I think there is an opportunity here to create closer working relationships and maybe pursue further opportunities as they arise with fellow councillors to increase efficiency. So I'm really pleased to see this sort of work happening in our Shire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Okay, councillors, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And all those against? And declare it carried. Okay, now we're going to move on to item 9.3.1, tender of contract, number 21-22-15, Euroa Tennis Sewer. Director Tingay, can we have a summary of this report, which has been talked about a lot?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. I'll keep my part brief, as I do understand that there is a lot of community support for this project. So this project does form part of Council's 2021-2022 Capital Works program. Essentially, the Euroa Tennis Club and the surrounds at the Friendlies Oval is used quite heavily and regularly by a number of different user groups. We need to upgrade the sewer. The design has been undertaken, and this tender is for the construction of a new sewer system to connect into the main network to be delivered through this contract. As part of our procurement process, this tender was released through public advertisement in the relevant newspapers, and as part of the process, Council received 2 tenders for this contract. Having considered the results of the tender evaluation process, there is a recommendation on page 61 of the agenda for Council's consideration to award contract number 2021-2022.
You've just frozen on me, Amanda. Director Tingay. Director Tingay was just noting the contract number 21-22-15. Are you back, Amanda? I can see you're moving.
For a total sum of 152.
Great. Well, I think we've got. We've got some stuff from Director Tingay. I think did councillors have any questions of Director Tingay around this matter? Councillor Rayburn, you're on mute.
Thank you. Just one clarification. In our report, it doesn't state what sort of sewer is it. Is it a pumping one, or is it a level that we can utilise it for the future to go out to Saxon Street and all that? Is there a pumping station one in it or not? I'm just clarifying.
Through you, Mayor Binks. Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Whilst I'm not an expert in this field, my understanding is that the extension will be able to provide in the future the opportunity for further extension for sewer requirements into the future, subject to any funding receipt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillor Haysberg.
Thanks, Mayor. Director Tingay, I just want to confirm, so the sewer will be boring under the tennis courts and the trees. There won't be any impact on the facilities that are currently there. Is that right?
Yes, that is my understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Okay, councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state what your motion is? Councillor Hourigan.
Thank you, Mayor Binks. I'd like to move a motion that we adopt the recommendation on page 61 of the agenda, please.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Haysberg. And is there any opposition to the motion? No. Okay. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Hourigan.
Thank you, Mayor Binks. This is a great outcome for the tennis courts, the Euroa Tennis Club. Their septic system was definitely finished, and being able to connect up is a fantastic move. It's not just for the tennis club though. Councillor Rayburn asked a question regarding the sewer system, and that is because it has been designed in such a way by the officers intended that eventually other parts of Euroa will be able to hook up to it. Considering that this area is in the residential part of Euroa, it does still stun me that they're still on septic systems. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to move on to the sewer. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hourigan. And did anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Haysbert?
I would just like to add that I concur with Councillor Hourigan. It is a great win for the tennis club and the community. And as we redevelop that precinct with friendlies and the tennis club, there'll be an opportunity for friendlies to connect as well, as we do up the toilet facility and everything there. So that's a really good thing as well.
Thank you, Councillor Haysbert. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Nope. Okay. And councillors, I will put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And against? And declare it carried. Okay, moving on to item 9.3.2, tender of contract number 20/22-10, construction of Rockies Pedestrian Bridge, Euroa. Director Tingay, can we have a summary, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Also forming part of Council's 2021-2022 Capital Works program is the construction of a suspension type bridge over what is the location called the Rockies in Euroa, to make a safe path of travel over the Sevens Creek. All of the pre-construction works have been completed, including liaison and approval from the Goulburn Broken Catchment Management Authority, and also a cultural heritage management plan. At the closing of tenders on the 20th of October, 5 tenders were received, with 1 tender application deemed non-conforming. Following the assessment of the tenders, it is recommended that Strucker Steel, based in Lavington, be awarded the contract, and as per recommendations on page 68 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions of the officer? Councillor Haysbert.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Director Tingay. Could you please just confirm for me if any trees are to be removed for the construction of the suspension bridge?
Thank you, Councillor Haysbert. I can confirm that no trees will be removed as part of this project.
Great, thank you for that confirmation, Director Tingay. And councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state your motion? Councillor Haysbert.
Thanks, Mayor Binks. Could I please move the recommendation on page 68 of the agenda? I'd also like to add another dot point to this recommendation. Shall I just read that out now?
Yes, if you can read it out.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to formally request that the CEO work with the Arboretum and Friends of the Sevens to undertake a community planting day with existing project budget parameters to ensure that the environment surrounding the bridge is enhanced and conserved appropriately, and consult with these groups about any further lopping of overhanging branches for bridge maintenance.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillors, is there a seconder to the motion, which is that as is written on page 68, plus the additional point as read by Councillor Hayes-Burke?
Can I just ask a point of clarification, if I may, Mayor?
Certainly.
Okay, in that motion, the point 6 you added, Councillor Hayes-Burke, you said planting of trees within the budget we've already allocated, or are we going to be allocating more money towards this in the future?
Well, I'd like to just request that the CEO use the existing budget parameters, and I guess should this exceed the existing budget, then it come back to council. But hopefully, and I'm confident after speaking to the CEO that it can be done within the existing budget.
Okay, I understand. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Murray. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Okay.
Can I just ask a question?
Certainly.
If there are no trees to be removed, Councillor Burke, is the intention here to plant some more trees around the bridge, the Rockies bridge, or what's the intention here if there are no trees to be removed?
Well, I guess it will, be detracting from the landscape as it currently is. So I would like to see more ground covers, shrubs and trees sort of greeting you as you approach the bridge to always conserve and enhance, that area.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification, Councillor Hayes-Burke. So you're happy to second the motion, Councillor Murray?
I am.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. And is there any opposition to the motion? No? Okay. Councillor Hayes-Burke, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, thanks. I'll just to say that it's been a very long-awaited project, and I guess we've got a sort of sense of honour in essentially signing off on this project. And thank you for the officers working with the community and getting up this final design. I think it will be a real asset to the Apex walking track. I guess just by adding this recommendation, I do want to ensure that the bridge sort of sits well within the landscape, and that these planting of shrubs, trees and ground covers of Indigenous species somewhat can offset the construction of the bridge. And we're fortunate to have community members who care very much for the health of our creek and who are keen to contribute to the conservation of the flora and fauna along the creek. And that these people would be willing to help with the community planting day.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Councillor Murray, did you like to speak to the motion?
Only to support Councillor Hayes-Burke in saying this is a long-awaited development for the creek area and for the Apex walking track, and it really makes that track much more accessible to a whole range of people, much like I suppose the developments of the boardwalk in the Gambia and so on. It really enhances the town and its usability. So I really support the motion from Councillor Hayes-Burke to enhance that sort of space with the development of the new bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Hourigan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Binks. This is a very important project, and throughout my campaigning and asking various community members what was the most important thing for Euroa, this was always mentioned and was always high priority. Anyone that has walked that bridge, be it the locals or the tourists, etc., will know that you can't take a pram over there without losing a baby into the Rockies. You struggle to ride a bike. I've just come up with bad quality internet, so I hope it's still working.
We can still hear you, yeah.
Thank you. So the new bridge replacement will be very welcomed by the locals, but it does mean that the old bridge isn't able to stay due to the sheer safety concerns. But I think everyone will enjoy the new bridge. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Horrigan. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No. Okay. Councillors.
Oh, sorry, Mayor. Sorry,
Yes.
Mayor. Can I just finalise by saying I do hope that we can, yes, conserve some images of the old bridge in a way, just I guess as a point of reference to tell the story of where we've come from, because I guess, you know, it does have a bit of a history, that bridge, and I think it tells a nice story. So it would be good to take some great photos of it and preserve those for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Haysberg. Okay, can I put the motion to the vote, please? All those in favour? All those against? And I declare that carried. Okay, moving on to item 9.3.3, tender for contract number 21 to 22-19, 2021-2022 pavement rehabilitation program. Director Tingay, can we have a report on this summary? A summary on the report, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Binks. The final tender for consideration tonight is that of the pavement rehabilitation program. This forms part of Council's approved capital works program for this financial year. The road rehabilitation program is required to improve safety, increase the lives of roads around our municipality, which will then lead into lower ongoing maintenance costs and a decrease in the frequency of those maintenance activities. There's been a number of roads selected for the 2021-2022 program based on road condition assessments that have been carried out. Following the public tender process, we received a number of applications, and following the internal officer assessment of those applications, it is recommended that Council award contract number 21-2022-17 for a lump sum to Bitumill Civil Proprietary Limited for a total value of $591,000 plus GST. There is a recommendation on page 76 of the agenda through to page 77 of the agenda for Council's consideration. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillors, is there any questions to the officer? No? Okay. Councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state what your motion is? Councillor Rayburn. You're on mute, Councillor Rayburn.
I'm getting like Councillor Dickinson. Always. I'd like to move the motion, which is printed on page 76, for the tender assessment of 2020-22-17 for $591,000 to be received and given approval by Council.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Dickinson. Off mute. Well done. Is there any opposition to the motion? No? Okay. Councillor Rayburn, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, if you mind. Thanks, Mayor. People may wonder why certain streets get selected for this pavement renewal. It's rehabilitation. It's a program, as we passed in our road management plan a couple of months ago, assessment of our road network, and we have a company which we employ to go out and do our road assessment. They give us a report, and then our asset department goes out and then does a complete check of it all again, and then that determines what roads and areas need upgrade, and then build on that recommendation of expertise. It's not just a guess in the pie in the sky stuff. It's actually done by people competent and expert in the field. So I sincerely move this motion forward.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to speak to the motion?
I just endorse those remarks from Councillor Rayburn, and also just mention that our ratepayers sometimes like to remind us that our job is to look after the roads. Well, we're doing our job.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Nope. Okay. Councillors, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion? And against? And I declare the motion carried. Okay, item 9.3.4, contracts awarded under delegation as approved in Council's 2021-2022 Capital Works budget. Director Tingay, can we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Another standard monthly report that we present to Council and our community. This one relates to contracts awarded under delegation up until the 1st of November 2021. Within that, those contracts are awarded either by the Chief Executive Officer under delegation, directors under delegation, or managers under delegation. There is a recommendation on page 83 of the agenda that Council notes the contracts that were awarded up to this period of the 1st of November 2021. Thank you, Mayor Binks.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Councillors, are there any questions of the officer? Nope. Okay, councillors, can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Hourigan.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Binks. I'd like to move a motion that we adopt the recommendation on page 83 of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Hourigan. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? No. Okay. Councillor Hourigan, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Binks. I just want to point out one of the contract tenders, because I know there's been a few community members that have brought it up, but Greytown accessible toilet facility, it is coming. So congratulations to Greytown and obviously the other two. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hourigan. Councillor Dickinson, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I just support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Rayburn.
Just one, the Ewing Road, Livingston Street, Avenel repairs. The people in Avenel will be ecstatic. It's just getting rectified and brought back to what should have been done in the first place.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Okay, councillors, I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And against? And I declare it carried. Okay, agenda item 9.4.1, the finance report to 30 September 2021, Director Off. May we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the report to the end of September, and you'll note it identifies favourable variances in both income and expenditure. Expenditure is about 6 to 7% below the year-to-date budget, and income's up by about 2.2%. So there's some timing in that, but it's tracking fairly well. The balance sheet's quite healthy with a ratio of current assets to liabilities of nearly 4 assets to 1 liability, but that includes things like capital grants that we've received in advance, which we'll need to expend on the Capital Works program. So that cash will drop and come back to somewhere near where we've budgeted. Capital expenditure is in front of the year-to-date budget, which is a good sign. We've got a fair bit to get through in the next 6 months, but maybe with some COVID-related delays that might slow up a little bit. Currently, we're doing some further work on items carried over from the previous year and preparing a mid-year budget review to council to have a look at. So, plus we're started on next year's budget as well. So it's a little bit going on.
Thank you, Director Ralph. Councillors, are there any questions of the officer? No. Okay, councillors, may I have a motion, please, and can you state your motion? Councillor Dickinson?
I'd just like to move the motion on page 87 that Council note the financial report for the 3 months ended 30th of September 2021.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hayes-Burke, thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? None. Councillor Dickinson, did you want to speak to the motion?
Well done, Mr. Roth. You've got us in the black. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
Officer Roth.
Dickinson.
I should have said Officer Roth.
You can say Director Roth. He's a director. Thank you, Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah.
Councillor Hayes-Burke, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, thanks to Director Off and his team for ensuring a solid financial performance.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes-Burke. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No? Okay. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And against? Declare it carried. Okay, moving on to item 9.5.1, monthly performance report. Executive Manager Bray, may we have a summary of the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. Councillors, this is our usual monthly performance report, and I'd just like to highlight a couple of really good news stories, I think. If we look at the graphs on page 104 and 105, you'll see that the curbside diversion rate is the equal highest that it's been in all of the reporting periods, so from 2014-15 onwards. And also on page 105, the contamination rate, so the contamination of our garbage bins and recycling bins is the lowest it's been, which it looks like it's under 1%, judging by that graph. So I just wanted to highlight the work being done by our environmental waste team and our waste education officer as well. I know has been out and about, and also thank the residents for their performance. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Executive Manager Bray. That is fabulous news to see in the report, especially coming just out of the back of National Recycling Week. So well done, everyone. Councillors, are there any questions to the officer? No. Okay, councillors, can I have a motion, please, and can you state what your motion is? Councillor Rayburn?
Through you, Mayor, I'd like to move that the motion or the report be received and noted, and thank the staff for their diligence and good work.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Murray. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Is there any opposition? None. Okay. Councillor Rayburn, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would actually, Mayor Binks. I actually looked at page 97, and it's the first time, I think, under the pending application approvals, that Honeysuckle Creek is the highest ward for a planning application. Usually Euroa or Nagambie, but Honeysuckle Creek's there. So I can this month go beauty. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rayburn. Councillor Murray, would you like to speak to the report? No, that's fine. Thank you. Any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay, councillors, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And against? Okay, and I declare that carried. Wow, that brings us to the end of the items under section 9 of our agenda. So we'll now move on to section 10. Are there any notices of motion, CEO Salomon?
Through you, Mayor, there are no notices of motion received tonight.
Thank you, CEO Solomon. And notices of rescission. Have we received any notices of rescission, CEO Solomon?
Thank you, Mayor Binks. There are no rescissions tonight.
Any urgent business to consider?
And Mayor Binks, that's the third no for this evening.
Okay. And confidential business, councillors, there's no other confidential business to consider in this agenda, so we don't have anything under that. So on that note, councillors, the next ordinary meeting of Strathbogie Shire Council is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, the 14th of December, our pre-Christmas meeting. Please note, this meeting is being held a week earlier than usual, than the usual third Tuesday, and that's obviously to coincide with preparations for the festive season. It is intended that the meeting will be held in the Euroa Community Conference Centre. So we are hoping for our first return to a in-person meeting. I think the last one we had was in May this year. However, that will be dependent on any COVID-19 restrictions which may come into place. Currently, we're hoping to have it in person. We will update the councillors and officers, but most importantly the community, as to if you can attend once we are all clear on that front. So there being no further business, I declare my first meeting as Mayor of Strathbogie Shire Council to be closed at 8:19 p.m. Thank you and good night.